Hello, everybody. I just wanted to give a quick update on what I've been working on, and it's not been a lot. I am working on it on my map. It's slow. Not that you probably care, although maybe you're excited, like, oh man, I want to play bRanN's newest map. Maybe you don't care. But I showed you last video that I wanted to make basically the first area, and I have a lot of stuff laid out, and we'll look at that in a second. But I needed the walls, and I wanted them to be kind of Lego-like. So I used a brush that placed sand and just let it pile up. But I kept it limited to a square, and I used the grid, and then I filled in the back so it kind of fits a full square, and I outlined the tops with what they were so I could kind of make more sense of it in my other editor, Amulet. Some of these are just duplicated, and they line up pretty good. If you know where to look for the line, you can find it. But I think it's okay. Then what I did was I painted it in layers, all separate still from everything. I did copy over my little outline so I knew where to place things. And I like how this looks, but don't worry, this is not how it's going to look. I did this similar with sandstone. My map on Bedrock called sandstone, but uses sandstone blocks. And I just made different color textures kind of in a gradient, and I'll probably just use the same ones because I think it looks pretty nice. So if we exit that and go to Woodcutters Watch, which is the first area, and I figure I'll just keep a map save file for each area separately and then kind of join them. And we have some sort of progress. So I took all those walls and I pasted them into this area with the other map editor, Amulet. And so they're kind of embedded into the ground. And I used a brush tool that helps place trees. And I'm not completely convinced that it's the best, but they're trees. It does it in a weird way. Here's the perfect example, where it places a piece of dirt to plant another one, basically, to make them tall, which, not my favorite, and I've kind of fixed the ones that are obvious as I'm walking around. But what I might actually do, and this is so OCD, but this is exactly why I kind of hesitate to work on this, and it just takes me forever because I kind of get to either parts that I don't really want to do, like, that sounds just like labor, or parts that aren't that fun, or parts that I'm just not confident on what to do next, and so I don't know how to continue or progress. But I'm thinking of, basically, I'd make a copy of this area, delete all the blocks that aren't trees or leaves, try to cut below the lowest line, and then replace all the dirt that's left with wood logs. Then I'd paste it back in, lining it up. And I can do that with saying, don't replace air. So it's kind of just like a copy paste of transparency over this, and then it fills it in. Here, for some reason, 2 chunks just disappeared on me, so I haven't wanted to fix it yet. I did fix the grass. That's all man-made. If you couldn't have told, perfect, good. I did my job. But I need to fill this in. I started playing with the shape of what this building might be. It's supposed to be some sort of observatory. I figured maybe if there's just a flat deck on here, where basically you climb up and then you're looking, and like it's getting you closer to the stars. It's not really an observatory, because I'm imagining the technology these people have is not like an actual telescope. I'm not quite sure, but I am feeling like it's too short. So that's something where I could manually break all the blocks by hand and then place them higher. And trust me, I'll do stuff like that. I shouldn't. It's ridiculous. There's no reason to do it that way, but I will. But for this, I'm just waiting. I'll jump into Amulet. I'll select, which is like MC Edit. I'll select this. I'll lift it up. I'll select that. I'll lift it up. And I'll kind of get it to a better height. A height that I like. I'll probably have to go back and forth a couple times, make sure I really like how it looks. For these buildings, I really did not want to make buildings because I don't feel like I'm great at making buildings. So I started looking for examples online. And there's a builder on Twitter, and I think his buildings are beautiful. I'm like, hey, can I use your buildings in my map? The main focus of my map is not your buildings. They're going to make every place look better. It's going to save me a ton of work. I didn't explain it in this much detail. I just said, hey, I noticed you got a Patreon. People can pay to have access to your builds. I'm cool with that. But can I use them in my map? My map's on the marketplace. It's going to sell. And I feel like he thought that was too close to me selling his stuff. I respect that. That's fine. But I was waiting for the answer. It's not like I got an answer right away. I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. So in the meantime, I'm like, well, he might not say yes. So let me look up what other people have their builds for sale that I just am in love with. And I couldn't really find any. And no one would clearly state, yes, you can use this any way you want. Modify it, sell it, whatever. So instead, I started looking up roof tutorials. And then I took as many weird shapes as I could think of, which isn't many. And I started doing some experimentation with different roofs. And it's not like I'm looking at these to decide, I like this one the best. Yes. No, they'll all be different. Now, I don't think they'll all be different materials like this. I'm really focused not on, as you can tell, which specific materials I'm using. I wanted to get the shapes. And next, I'm going to need to watch a tutorial on walls. Figure out how I'm supposed to make those in a way that's appealing, appeasing, whatever. Over here is supposed to be the lumber mill. And then this is a good example. These are the types of things I get hung up on. They're cutting down trees. I want it to look, man, there's a lot of trees missing. I'll probably fill in a couple areas with just stumps, just to really drill home the point. Like, this place has been deforested, and it's not growing back fast enough for whatever reason. It'll kind of go into the story, I suppose, that they're trapped here, essentially, because the one way out is the mines, and the mines has become infested for whatever reason. It can't make 100% sense. It's just a game. You're here to collect wool and put it on a monument, essentially. But I want to add a slight story to it, more so than usual, because I want to really lean into the Bedrock features that make things successful on the Minecraft marketplace. So I saw some stuff like this, and that looks like it's being chopped up. And here's a block of different sized wood, and I can maybe do one more, because this is a small area. And here's the lumber mill. But the idea would be you're chopping these down and getting the wood over here to be Why would you do that at the top of a hill? If you need to cut over there and try to you're causing yourself problems. And again, none of this matters at all. But these are the things that run through my mind and slow me down. But I'm not ready. I'm not ready to work on walls. I didn't want to work on walls. So I started on the next area. And start is a generous term to myself. But before we look at that, let's look over here. I want natural looking caves. And I'm moving. When I stop moving in game, it's because I've started moving my hands around while I'm talking, which doesn't make any sense for a video. So I found actual caves, and let's have a visual. Show, don't tell. So I found segments of caves that looked interesting, and I took them out of the ground. I inverted it, filled the air with white wool, then removed all the other blocks, which is not like just a quick and easy thing. I took this piece, I took this piece, I put them together, and I used that piece, I flipped it around, and I'm just trying to make what I think might be an interesting shape. And then while I was there, I had found this geode, and I just thought it looked interesting if the cave kind of broke into it a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But on the original Excel sheet, I'll show you real quick, I had this idea of this cave. So this is my approximation of that. But it's using actual Minecraft cave shapes, because I have no idea how to make it look naturally. And I could totally just take this tool, use it as a brush, and take away spheres of material and kind of carve it out. But it just won't look natural. And so now, again, we're not focused on the materials. We have a natural looking cave. Natural because it's from natural generation. And it kind of goes up here a little bit, and it goes down here, and it comes around. And there's an area that is kind of basically this whole area, except smaller for the very start, for the introduction. And I've left this as is because I think in the area prior to this will be fully here. Once I get that copied out, then I think I'll come back to here and knock out all these, knock out all the, whatever these are, the budding amethyst blocks. Maybe remove some of these blocks. Maybe make another block that is one of these that looks drained somehow. Kind of to show that this town has utilized this resource. But I can't take that down now because that's how I want it to look in the previous shot. Now over here we have the reverse issue. I want these to be ruins that in the prior area you place the first wool, because it's like a little tutorial area. And then when you come here, the full-blown area, that's a little bit, takes place in future time. I don't know. Don't worry about the details, please, because I certainly don't know them yet. This will be a ruined version, but then I have to figure out, oh gosh, how's that going to look? And this should be a pivotal part of the map, and in the future areas that you're going to explore and find where you also place the other wools should somehow match this. And how do I make that all line up? And the conclusion is I can build that in creative, so I don't need to figure it out now. The stuff I need to figure out now are the things that require me to be able to do brush strokes and massive edits and the big stuff. Figuring out these walls would be great now. Figuring out which materials I want to use would be great now, but I don't have to. So I try not to worry about it. But if I wanted to rip up all these trees and replace the dirt blocks that shouldn't be in the middle of them and then place them back down, I could even do that afterwards, I suppose. But once I start doing a lot of fiddly details to the map, I don't want to be making big, grand scale changes with a tool that's outside of Minecraft, because that's when 2 whole chunks can just go missing for some reason and I not notice, and I didn't have a backup right away, because otherwise I just pop in the backup and paste them back in place. But that's how it goes. The next area after this is a mines. It's a natural cave system that's been turned into a mine. So I'm asking AI chatbots, hey, what the heck is in an actual mine? What are the main points of interest? Help me out. Sometimes I'll tell it I'm doing a Minecraft map, but then it'll tell me to do stuff like a bunch of chest storage and things you'd want if you were playing Minecraft. Like, no. Pretend like I'm doing a D&D campaign. Make it realistic, but sort of gamey. This is me just exploring an idea physically. And so I made a bunch of worlds. I looked up, hey, what are cool seeds for really cool cave worlds? Some of the caves are way too big. Some of the caves are too littered with other things. So I just, like, okay, whatever. This section looks interesting. Select the whole thing. Rip it out of the ground. Remove the top layer. Remove every block that isn't the cave by filling the air with wool. And now what I'm just doing is kind of floating around and looking at which shapes might be interesting. This is an example of it kind of goes to nothing, so maybe I trim that back. And my next step will be, like I've done here, I identified, okay, this is a piece that's kind of nearly one. It technically is not. It's actually two separate pieces. So here I left myself a note, kind of like sketching in pencil. Rip this part off, bring it down, paste it there. Maybe make a connection point over here. And I'm kind of imagining, I'm starting to form an idea of the cave system. We'll probably enter into a large room, and that will probably branch off into just a little bit of spaghetti. But somewhere there'll be like an elevator looking thing. It won't be a real working elevator because I don't want to do that. But it'll look like the elevator that they would use to get the carts to a lower level. And then maybe a little more spaghetti. And then this could go out. And I'll probably have a couple places like that where it's going deeper and deeper. I need to, and I have been thinking about, what does the area look like where they broke through and it lets something out? So the easiest thing to think about is, the deep dark. But I don't know if I can pull that off. But these are all things I don't have to figure out now. I don't have to have them solved today. It's just, I got to keep thinking about it. And even this, I'll probably only pick a few more pieces and then just rip a different section out because I don't want to be too limited. And I can start separating these out and kind of rounding off the edges. You can imagine if I just took this tail straight off of there, it's going to be flat, but then I could kind of round this edge and round this edge, but then I'd have that as its own individual piece, like I did with these. Then I just have the inverse of a natural Minecraft cave, and I can put them together however I want. And if I want to just thicken up an area for some kind of point of interest, I could just copy this. Once on top, once on bottom, once on the side, just kind of like make a circle with it, and it should still look pretty natural. And if you do it enough, you won't be able to notice any repetition. If you do it too little, there's probably better ways to do all this. But that's my update. I'm glad I was able to check in. I hope you continue to find these blog-like things interesting. I do like that I've made some progress. I would love to dedicate more time to working on this. But right now, I'm just too busy. These cars aren't going to drive themselves. But I am working on it, and I look forward to providing you more updates in the soon future, I hope.